The sun was beginning to set as Tiana pulled out of her driveway in her mom's blue sedan. The grocery list was tucked safely in her pocket, and she hummed along to the music playing softly on the radio. At 16, she took pride in being the reliable one in the family, especially with her dad away on military duty. "Grab some extra potatoes," her mom had called out as Tiana headed out the door. "And don't forget the cinnamon for the apple pie." It was her little brother's birthday tomorrow, and they wanted to make his favorite dessert. The neighborhood streets were quiet that Thursday evening. Most people were already home, settling in for dinner or helping kids with homework. Tiana loved this peaceful time of day when the world seemed to slow down a bit. As she turned onto Main Street, she noticed the local diner was still packed. Through the big windows, she could see families laughing and talking. Her stomach growled a little. Maybe she'd pick up some fries for the drive home after getting the groceries. The supermarket parking lot was half empty when she pulled in. Tiana grabbed a cart and headed inside, pulling out her phone to check the grocery list one more time. Her mom had texted her again. "Pick up ice cream too. Dad's favorite." That made Tiana smile. Her dad loved mint chocolate chip ice cream. They hadn't heard from him in almost 2 weeks, not unusual given his role in Special Forces, but he always said thinking about coming home to ice cream got him through the tough days. 20 minutes later, Tiana pushed her cart toward the checkout, satisfied she'd gotten everything on the list. The cashier, an older woman with kind eyes, made small talk as she scanned the items. "Looks like you're planning a nice family dinner," she said, bagging the potatoes. "My little brother's birthday," Tiana explained. "He's turning 12 tomorrow." "That's wonderful. Your parents must be proud to have such a helpful daughter." Tiana nodded, feeling a little glow of pride. "My mom's been working extra shifts at the hospital, and my dad's deployed right now, so I try to pitch in where I can." After paying for the groceries, Tiana carefully arranged the bags in the trunk so nothing would spill. The ice cream went in the special cooling bag her mom had packed. She climbed back into the driver's seat, adjusted her mirrors just like her dad had taught her, and pulled out of the parking space. The drive home should have taken just 15 minutes. Tiana was careful to follow all the traffic rules. Her dad had been super strict about that when teaching her to drive. "You've got to be twice as careful as everyone else," he always said. She knew what he meant without him having to explain it further. Just as she turned onto Maple Avenue, about 6 blocks from home, she noticed the flashing lights in her rearview mirror. Her heart jumped into her throat. She hadn't been speeding. She hadn't run any stop signs. What could be wrong? Taking a deep breath, Tiana signaled and pulled carefully to the right side of the road. She remembered everything her parents had taught her about being stopped by police. Turn off the engine. Keep your hands visible on the steering wheel. Don't make any sudden movements. Be polite. Her hands trembled slightly as she turned off the radio and rolled down her window. In the side mirror, she could see a tall officer approaching, his face set in a stern expression that made her stomach tighten with anxiety. The sun had almost completely set now, casting long shadows across the street. The grocery bags in the back seat suddenly felt forgotten as Tiana focused on staying calm. She thought of her dad, the way he always handled stressful situations with a level head. "Breathe from your belly, not your chest," he'd tell her. "Look people in the eye. Speak clearly." The officer was at her window now, his face hard to read in the growing darkness. Tiana forced a small, polite smile. "Good evening, officer," she said, her voice steadier than she expected. "Is something wrong?" The officer's flashlight beam swept across her face, momentarily blinding her. "License and registration," he said, not returning her greeting. And just like that, Tiana knew this wouldn't be a simple traffic stop. Her perfect record was about to be tested, along with everything her father had taught her about standing her ground with dignity. Tiana handed over her license and reached carefully into the glove compartment for the car registration. The officer, whose nameplate read Officer Reynolds, took them without a word. His flashlight beam moved across the documents, then back to her face, as if checking that the girl in the photo matched the one behind the wheel. "This your car?" he asked, his tone suggesting he already knew the answer. "No, sir," Tiana replied. "It's my mom's car. I'm running errands for her." Officer Reynolds made a small sound, the kind that wasn't quite believing. "You know why I pulled you over?" Tiana thought hard. Had she forgotten to signal? Was she driving too slowly? No, sir, I don't. Your right taillight is out, he said, tapping his pen against his notepad. And you rolled through the stop sign back at Pine and Elm. Tiana's eyes widened. I'm sorry about the taillight, sir. I didn't know. But I'm positive I came to a complete stop at that intersection. The officer's eyebrows raised slightly, his mouth forming a thin line. You calling me a liar? No, sir, Tiana said quickly. Not at all. She took another deep breath, remembering her dad's advice about staying calm under pressure. I'm very careful about stopping completely. My dad drilled that into me when he taught me to drive. Your dad, huh? Officer Reynolds glanced around the empty car as if her father might be hiding somewhere inside. Where is he now? He's deployed overseas, sir. He's in the military. The officer nodded slowly, but something in his expression changed. It became less official, more casual, as if they were just having a chat now. Military, huh? What's he do? Cook? Mechanic? There was something in his tone that made Tiana sit up straighter. Pride filled her chest as she answered, No, sir. He's in Special Forces. He's a team leader. The laugh that came from Officer Reynolds wasn't loud, but it cut through the night air like a knife. Special Forces? Right. He chuckled again, shaking his head. Look, kid, I was in the army for 6 years. I know what Special Forces guys look like, and he trailed off, giving her a once-over that made her feel small. Tiana felt heat rising to her cheeks. She'd seen that look before, that look that said without words that people like her dad, people like her, couldn't possibly be what they claimed to be. It's true, she said quietly, fighting to keep her voice steady. He's been in for 17 years, 5th group. Officer Reynolds just smiled, that kind of smile adults give children when they're telling tall tales. Whatever you say. Sit tight while I run your information. As he walked back to his patrol car, Tiana gripped the steering wheel tightly. The grocery bags in the back seat were forgotten now. She could feel the ice cream starting to melt, but that seemed so unimportant compared to the burning feeling in her chest. Her phone buzzed in the cup holder. It was her mom. Hey, baby, you on your way home? What's taking so long? Her mom's voice was concerned. I got pulled over, Mom, Tiana said, trying to keep her voice from shaking. For a taillight I didn't know was out. And he says I ran a stop sign, but I didn't. Oh no, are you okay? Is the officer being respectful? Tiana glanced in her rearview mirror at Officer Reynolds, sitting in his patrol car. Not really, he laughed when I told him about Dad. Like I was making it up. There was a pause on the other end of the line. When her mom spoke again, her voice had changed. It was calmer, more deliberate, the way it got when she was really angry but trying not to show it. Put me on speaker when he comes back, okay? Okay, Tiana agreed, then added, the ice cream's probably melting. Her mom laughed softly. Don't worry about that now. Just stay calm. Remember what your dad taught you. Actually, there was another pause, and Tiana heard what sounded like voices in the background. I need to tell you something, but not right now. Let's deal with this officer first. Through the rearview mirror, Tiana saw Officer Reynolds get out of his patrol car. He was walking back toward her, taking his time, flipping through what looked like a small notebook. He's coming back, Mom, Tiana whispered. Good, speakerphone. And Tiana? Hold your head high, baby. You've done nothing wrong. Tiana set her phone down in the cup holder, the call with her mom still active. Officer Reynolds approached, his footsteps slow and deliberate on the pavement. When he reached her window, he handed back her license and registration. So here's the situation, he said, leaning down slightly. Your record's clean, but I've still got 2 violations here. He tapped his notepad. The taillight and the stop sign. Officer, my mom's on the phone, Tiana said, gesturing to her cell. Would you mind speaking with her? Reynolds frowned, clearly annoyed at the interruption. Ma'am, I'm dealing with your daughter, not you, he said loudly toward the phone. She's got a busted taillight and ran a stop sign. I understand, officer, came her mom's voice, calm but firm. But I'd appreciate if you'd give her a warning about the taillight. We had no idea it was out. As for the stop sign. Look, Reynolds cut in, I saw what I saw. And I don't appreciate being told how to do my job. I'm not telling you how to do your job, Tiana's mom replied. I'm just asking for some understanding. My daughter's driving record is perfect, and she's only running errands because I'm working double shifts at the hospital and her father is. Yeah, I heard all about her father, Reynolds interrupted with a smirk, looking directly at Tiana. Special forces, right? Must be nice having such an impressive dad. The sarcasm in his voice made Tiana's stomach knot up. She gripped the steering wheel tighter, trying to keep her expression neutral. My husband is indeed in special forces, her mom confirmed, her voice taking on an edge Tiana recognized. It was the same tone she used when dealing with difficult patients. He's been serving this country for 17 years. Reynolds let out a short laugh. Ma'am, I was in the army. I know what special forces operators look like, what kind of men make it through that training. No offense, but... No offense. Tiana's mom repeated. What exactly are you implying, officer? There was a tense silence. Tiana could hear her own heartbeat in her ears. I'm not implying anything, Reynolds finally said, his tone defensive now. I'm just saying special forces is elite. Not everyone's cut out for it. I'm well aware, her mom replied. My husband's been deployed 8 times. He's earned 2 Bronze Stars. Would you like to see pictures? His service record? Reynolds shifted uncomfortably. That's not necessary. Tiana sat very still, watching this exchange unfold. She'd never heard her mom speak this way to anyone, especially not someone in authority. Actually, her mom continued, there's something you should know. My husband. A beeping sound interrupted her words. Tiana looked down at her phone and saw the battery warning flashing. Mom, my phone's about to die, she said quickly. Sweetheart, don't worry, her mom said. Just sit tight. Everything's going to be fine. The call ended abruptly as the phone died. Tiana looked up at Officer Reynolds, who was watching her with an unreadable expression. Sounds like your mom was about to tell me a story, he said, the edge of mockery back in his voice. It's not a story, Tiana said quietly. My dad really is in special forces. Reynolds sighed, pulling out his ticket book. Listen, kid, I'm going to cut you a break on the stop sign. But I've got to write you up for the taillight. It's a safety issue. As he started writing the ticket, Tiana noticed headlights approaching in her side mirror. A dark SUV pulled up behind the patrol car, its engine rumbling deeply before shutting off. Reynolds was too focused on writing the ticket to pay attention. Sign here, he said, handing her the clipboard. Tiana took it, her hand trembling slightly. She glanced again at the SUV in her mirror. The driver's door opened and a tall figure stepped out. Even in the dim streetlight, she recognized the walk immediately. The confident stride, the straight shoulders, the way he seemed to own the ground beneath his feet. A wave of relief washed over her. Officer Reynolds was still explaining the ticket when he realized Tiana wasn't listening anymore. She was looking past him, a small smile forming on her lips. Is there a problem? Reynolds asked, turning to follow her gaze. And that's when he saw him. Walking toward them under the streetlights was a man whose very presence seemed to change the atmosphere. He wasn't in uniform, but everything about him, his posture, his focus, his controlled movements, screamed military. That's my dad, Tiana said simply. Time seemed to slow down as Tiana's father approached. He wore civilian clothes, dark jeans, and a simple black jacket, but even without a uniform, he carried himself with unmistakable military bearing. At 6'3" with broad shoulders and a measured stride, he moved with the quiet confidence of someone who had faced far more intimidating situations than this one. Officer Reynolds turned fully now, his hand instinctively moving to rest on his belt near his holster, a reflex action when approached by an unknown person during a traffic stop. But something in the man's calm demeanor made the officer relax his posture slightly. Evening, officer, Tiana's father said, his deep voice carrying easily through the night air. He stopped at a respectful distance. I'm Darius Wilson. That's my daughter you're speaking with, and that's my wife's car. Reynolds' eyes narrowed as he looked Darius up and down, trying to reconcile the man standing before him with the dismissive assumptions he'd made minutes earlier. Sir, I'm in the middle of issuing a citation. I'll need you to step back to your vehicle. Darius nodded but didn't move. I understand protocol, officer. But before you continue, I'd like to know why my daughter was pulled over. There was nothing confrontational in his tone, just a direct question spoken with the expectation of a straight answer. Reynolds seemed caught off guard by this approach. Taillights out, he said, gesturing toward the back of the car, and she rolled through a stop sign. Darius glanced at Tiana, who shook her head slightly. The taillight I can't dispute, Darius said. But my daughter's been driving for 6 months without a single violation. She doesn't roll through stop signs. Reynolds' jaw tightened. Sir, with all due respect, I saw what I saw. And with all due respect, officer, Darius replied, I trained my daughter myself. 3 seconds at every stop sign, even when the roads are empty. It's a habit now. Tiana watched the exchange through her side mirror, her heart racing. Her father hadn't raised his voice or made any aggressive movements, yet he somehow seemed to fill the space between the two vehicles. Your daughter mentioned your military, Reynolds said, changing the subject. His tone had lost some of its edge. Special forces, she said. That's correct. Darius didn't elaborate further. Reynolds gave a small laugh, but it sounded forced now. You know, it's just that we get people claiming all sorts of things during traffic stops. I'm sure you do, Darius agreed. People get nervous around authority figures. They say things they think will help their situation. He reached slowly into his back pocket, moving deliberately so the officer could see exactly what he was doing, and pulled out his wallet. From it, he extracted a military ID card and handed it to Reynolds. The officer studied the ID for a long moment. His expression changed as he read the details, the skepticism gradually replaced by something that looked almost like embarrassment. 5th Special Forces Group, he read aloud. Master Sergeant. 17 years now, Darius confirmed. Just got back from overseas yesterday, actually. Was supposed to be a surprise for the kids. He looked at Tiana with a small smile. Surprise. Tiana couldn't help the grin that spread across her face, despite the tense situation. Hi, Dad. Reynolds handed the ID back to Darius. I apologize, Master Sergeant Wilson. It's just unusual. What's unusual, officer? Darius asked, his voice still calm but with an undertone that suggested he knew exactly what Reynolds meant. The officer hesitated, clearly uncomfortable now. Nothing, my mistake. He turned back to Tiana. About that ticket. The taillight needs to be fixed, Darius said. That's a legitimate safety concern, but perhaps we can agree that my daughter's record of responsible driving warrants a warning rather than a citation this time. Reynolds nodded, closing his ticket book. I think that's reasonable. As he tore up the half-completed ticket, Turner noticed how differently the officer carried himself now, the cocky attitude gone, replaced by something like respect, or maybe just the absence of disrespect. Get that taillight fixed first thing tomorrow, Reynolds instructed, his tone professional now. And drive safely. Yes, sir, Tiana responded. As Reynolds walked back to his patrol car, Darius came to stand beside Tiana's window. You okay? He asked quietly. Tiana nodded, feeling a mix of relief and lingering anger. I'm okay. But he wouldn't have changed his mind if you hadn't shown up. Her father's expression was thoughtful. Probably not. But you handled yourself with dignity. That's what matters most. He laughed at me, Dad, she said, her voice barely audible. When I told him about you, Darius's face hardened for just a moment before he controlled his expression. I know. Your mom texted me. That's why I'm here. The police cruiser's taillights disappeared around the corner, leaving Tiana and her father standing in the pool of yellow streetlight. For a moment, neither spoke. The tension of the confrontation still hung in the air, slowly being replaced by the simple joy of reunion. So, Darius said finally, his serious expression melting into a warm smile. Not exactly how I planned our reunion. Tiana laughed, the sound releasing some of the stress she'd been holding. Mom said you weren't coming home until next week. That was the plan, he nodded. But the mission wrapped up early, and I wanted to surprise you all. He gestured toward the back of the car. Speaking of surprises, what have you got there? Birthday stuff for Devon, Tiana explained, including ice cream that's probably soup by now. Then we better get it home, Darius said. He glanced toward his SUV. Want me to follow you, or do you want to leave your mom's car here and ride with me? I should probably bring the car back, Tiana decided. She hesitated, then asked the question that had been burning in her mind. Dad, what would have happened if you hadn't shown up? Darius leaned against the car, his expression growing thoughtful. Hard to say. You might have gotten a ticket. Or maybe your mom would have convinced him to let it go. But he wouldn't have believed me. About you. Darius sighed, running a hand over his short cropped hair. Probably not. Why did he think I was lying? Tiana asked, though part of her already knew the answer. Her father was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Some people have fixed ideas about who can be what in this world. When reality doesn't match those ideas, it's easier for them to assume the reality is wrong than to change their thinking. That's not fair, Tiana said, the words coming out more childlike than she intended. No, it's not, Darius agreed. But how we respond to unfairness says more about us than the unfairness itself. Tiana thought about this. Is that why you were so calm? I was so angry, but you never raised your voice. Oh, I was angry, Darius admitted, surprising her. Especially when your mom texted saying he laughed at you. But getting loud or aggressive wouldn't have helped the situation. He tapped his temple. Tactical thinking. Assess the battlefield before you engage. The battlefield being a traffic stop, Tiana said with a small smile. Life's full of battlefields, baby girl. Most don't have bullets flying. He straightened up. Come on, let's head home. Your mom's probably worried, and I want to see Devon's face when he realizes I'm back for his birthday. As Tiana started the car, Darius leaned in through the window for a quick hug. I'm proud of you, you know that? Your mom said you kept your cool the whole time. I tried to, Tiana said. I kept thinking about what you always say about dignity. Nobody can take your dignity unless you give it to them, Darius nodded. But that doesn't mean it's easy to hold on to. As they pulled away from the curb, Tiana watched her father in the rearview mirror, heading back to his SUV. Something about seeing him there, solid, real, undeniable, filled her with a complicated mix of emotions. Relief, certainly. Pride, too. But also a lingering sadness that his presence had been necessary at all. The drive home took less than 10 minutes. They pulled into the driveway of their 2-story brick house, the porch light glowing warmly in welcome. Before they even reached the front door, it flew open. Devon, Tiana's 11-year-old brother, stood frozen for a second before launching himself off the porch steps. Dad, he shouted, running full speed toward Darius, who crouched down to catch him in a bear hug. Hey, little man. Darius lifted him clear off the ground, spinning him around once before setting him back down. Man, you've grown at least 3 inches since I left. Tiana's mom appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Her face, tired from a long day of work, lit up at the sight of her family reunited. She locked eyes with Tiana across the yard, raising an eyebrow in silent question. Tiana gave a small nod. Everything was okay now. As they gathered the grocery bags from the car, Devon chattering excitedly about everything Darius had missed, Tiana felt the knot in her stomach finally begin to unwind. The confrontation with Officer Reynolds already felt like it was fading, not forgotten, but overshadowed by the simple joy of having her father home. Later, there would be time for more serious conversations. For now, they were just a family, together again after too long apart. After Officer Reynolds left, the family sat in the living room together, the weight of the evening's events settling around them. Devon, still too young to fully understand what had happened, was mostly excited about the ice cream now firming up in the freezer. Can we have some now? He asked, bouncing on the couch. Since Dad's home and everything. Layla smiled, stroking his cheek. Sure, baby. Why don't you go scoop some out for everyone? 4 bowls, please. As Devon raced to the kitchen, Darius turned to Tiana. You okay? She nodded slowly. Yeah, I think so. It was weird seeing him here, in our house. Took courage for him to come, Darius observed. Takes more courage to live with being treated that way, Layla countered, her voice gentle but firm. Darius reached for his wife's hand. True. Do you think he meant it? Tiana asked. The apology? I think he's starting to ask himself some hard questions, Darius said. Whether those questions lead to real change, that's up to him. The next morning, Tiana woke to the smell of pancakes and the sound of her father's deep laughter from downstairs. For a moment, she lay in bed, savoring the knowledge that he was home, safe, and would be for months this time. Yesterday's confrontation felt distant now, though not forgotten. When she came downstairs, she found Devon sitting at the kitchen table, wearing a paper birthday crown and grinning as their dad flipped pancakes with dramatic flair. Morning, birthday boy, she said, ruffling Devon's hair. You're officially ancient now. 12 isn't ancient, Devon protested, but he was smiling too hard to be truly offended. Your dad's taking the car to get that taillight fixed this morning, Layla said, handing Tiana a glass of orange juice. After we have cake, of course. The day passed in a blur of birthday celebrations and family time. They played board games, ate too much cake, and listened to Darius tell carefully edited stories about his time overseas. It was evening by the time Tiana remembered something. Dad, she asked as they cleaned up wrapping paper from Devon's presents, what were you and Mom talking about last night? After Officer Reynolds left, I heard you talking in the kitchen. Darius and Layla exchanged glances. We were discussing whether I should make a call to the police department, Darius explained, to talk about what happened. Are you going to? Tiana asked. We decided I should, Darius nodded. Not to get Officer Reynolds in trouble, but to make sure what happened to you doesn't happen to someone else who might not have a dad who can show up and prove they're telling the truth. I made that call this morning, Layla added, spoke with the captain. He wants your dad to come in next week to talk about possibly doing some training with the officers. Tiana's eyes widened. Really? What kind of training? The kind that helps people see past their assumptions, Darius said. The department has been trying to improve community relations. The captain thinks hearing from someone like me might help some of the officers rethink their approach. 2 weeks later, Tiana sat in the back of a community center meeting room, watching her father stand before 20 police officers, including Officer Reynolds. The atmosphere was tense at first, with some officers clearly defensive about being there. But as Darius spoke, not lecturing, but sharing stories from his own life and military career, Tiana could see the mood shifting. Her father had a way of talking that made people want to listen to understand. Assumptions can get you killed on the battlefield, he was saying, and they can destroy trust in a community. Trust that, once lost, is nearly impossible to rebuild. After the session, Reynolds approached Darius. Tiana couldn't hear what they were saying, but she saw them shake hands, saw the respect in Reynolds' eyes that hadn't been there during their first encounter. On the drive home, Tiana was quiet, thinking. Penny for your thoughts? Darius asked, glancing over at her. I was just thinking about what you said in there. About how one person can make a difference. Darius nodded. One person can, but real change takes everyone working together. Tiana smiled, watching the familiar streets of their neighborhood pass by. The taillight was fixed now. Her dad was home. And somewhere in their community, maybe, just maybe, a small change had begun. I'm proud of you, Dad, she said simply. I'm proud of you too, baby girl, he replied. More than you know.